Nothing new.
Smoking Guns Podcast, Philip Higginbotham, Leo Yamas, RC Woods, hanging out with you and getting ready to talk about some Brahmas football, or at least some Renegades football. No, I'm just kidding. Some Brahmas football. We're going to talk some Gunslingers today. We are a podcast that deals with professional football in San Antonio, and we've got it all over the place, and we're going to talk about it today. I am joined, as always, by my co-hosts and friends, Leo Yamas.
What's up, Smoking Guns Posse?
And RC Woods.
Hello, beautiful people out there.
And as you can hear, as you're listening to us either on the podcast or joining us live on Facebook Live on a Monday night, all our voices are a little rough. Because, hey, we had a football game last night, and it was a late football game last night.
It was.
Didn't even get started until 8 o'clock. You know what I found funny? I went back and watched the first few minutes of the broadcast today. And in the broadcast, they did no pregame at all. It was like, hey, we're here in San Antonio. They did like a helicopter shot of the Alamo Dome. And then immediately it went to Parker Romo kicking the ball off. Like they were like, we're not wasting any time. We're just getting right into the game here.
Yeah, they had to cut over pretty quick because they were just finishing up with the NCAA game coverage.
Right. The Brahmas fall to the Renegades 12-10 in a rough game to watch, in a hard game to sit in the stadium and watch. And if we're honest, that's 3 straight now that have been really hard to sit and watch. Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I mean, as a football fan, hard to watch the struggle like that. As a San Antonio fan, you know, you're still in it, of course, but it's really hard to see a team struggle that way, and especially when things looked good early, and then just the way things went down, we'll talk about, and then the injury to Sinet just kind of really, and then seeing what happened after that, it was a hard pill to swallow for sure.
Yeah, so a lot to talk about on the field and around the game. Tailgating was great, was fun, had a great time, and I want to get into that, but that's not what's on everybody's mind this evening. As you know, you came out to the tailgate, you had a great time, you expected that. You, however, went into the Alamo Dome, and you may not have had a great time just based on the football you were presented with, and that seems to be, as I look over social media today, everybody's thing is like, how can this get better? This has to get better or I'm out. I've seen a lot of that today where it's like, I don't know that I want to be involved anymore. That's ridiculous. I mean, that's sad. If that's where you are, you can no longer gripe about, the NFL and Jerry Jones and all those things. Like, if that's the kind of fan you are, you're not going to have NFL football or pro football in San Antonio. It's just not going to happen. You've got to support the team no matter how good or bad they are. And I'm not going to sugarcoat today. They're bad on offense. On the offensive side of the ball, they're not good. Reed Sinet got in there and they were better, but I still wouldn't call what you saw with Reed Sinet like good. It was just better. It was something as opposed to nothing with Jack Cohen, and we'll talk about that in the second half. We got nothing. For the third straight week, it was any offensive production at all gives you a win. Anything. At the end of the game, they had 2 opportunities to get down the field close enough for a Parker Romo field goal. Parker Romo that hits 57-yard field goals. All they had to do was get close enough for that, and they couldn't manage that. It's frustrating. It's really frustrating, and that's something that we heard from Coach Hines Ward, and we're going to talk about Coach Hines Ward too today, because man, there's problems, there's issues.
There are, Philip. This whole thing about expectations, though, of the fans. I think some people need to take a step back and see where we're at and what it is for what it is. It's a first-year team with a first-year coach, with a lot of guys on there with a lot of talent. But I think we're seeing some growing pains and some struggles with the coaching, with the players. Like Robert Rankin says here on Facebook, the penalties killed us. Lots and lots of penalties. I mean, and especially like you said, Philip, just needing to get within field goal range to win that game. And having Parker Romo, who's probably the best kicker in the league at this
I would
point,
say so. Yeah.
At this point, and really you need to get to what, like the 35-yard line.
Yeah,
there was
at least that would give you a shot.
Yeah. There was a point at the late in the game where Roberson runs the ball back to the 50-yard line on a kickoff return, and we're in good position where we get 15 yards or whatever. Then we're in scoring position to take the lead, and a stupid holding penalty gets that call back, and they're starting from deep in their territory rather than from about the 50-yard line. Stuff like that, little things like that aren't little in the big scheme of things. But this team, like if I said a moment ago, if you step back and kind of look at what we have with the San Antonio Brahmas, there's bad, and then there's bad. This team is a bad football team because they haven't been able to get things together. They haven't been able to gel what they're trying to do. They're not bad because they have really bad people in place at different positions and different whether it's coaching or players. They got talent. I believe like Viva Texas says, there's bad and then there's Orlando. If you look at Hines Ward and you look at his mentality, and he shoulders the responsibility for what's happening. We'll talk about that later, like you said, but there's a huge difference there. What we're seeing there for the Brahmas now than what we're seeing from other teams, where if we kind of look at where we're at or where this Brahmas team is at, if you could just kind of take those things and get excited about what the foundation that's there, what we can build, and how great that can be to actually build something with a head coach that wants to build, like he's publicly said it in his own words, wants to build something here for the city of San Antonio, in San Antonio, and his mentality is, I'm going to do that. Now, a lot of people are already calling for it. We need a new coach. Hines Ward is not a good coach, and that they might be right at this point in time, but you got to kind of like look at things. This is the XFL. They had a lot of rookie coaches in place and versus veterans. The veteran coaches, with one exception, are the guys that are winning football games.
Right.
If you take the rookie coaches that are taking their lumps and you look at the ones, which one of those guys would you rather have? I think Hines Ward is at the top of that list easily.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to watch this struggle because that they can be better and they should be doing better, especially when the defense is so good and all they need, literally, if they score one more touchdown each game this year, what do they only have one loss?
Every game they've lost has been within a possession.
Right.
Yeah.
The largest margin was the one in Houston. It was 9 points, and that's still a possession.
Yeah.
So you're close here.
They're this
And that-
close.
Right.
And that might be more maddening to me.
It is.
If we were
It
getting
is.
blown out, if we were getting Orlando blown out in games, then I'm like, we're just a bad football team. We can't. But to be this close, 2 points is nothing. Nothing. And I don't understand some of the little things that Hines Ward and his coaching staff are doing that just do not make any sense to me. You score your only touchdown of the game in the first quarter, and you go for 1 point. Why? Why go for 1 point? Go for 2. Go for 2 at least.
Go for 3.
No, I say this is my idea. I agree with you. 1 should never be an option. But you know what? I don't even think
an option.
I don't think 2 should really be an option unless the situation at that moment really calls for the 2 points, like you're down by 1. But 3-point play on a team that struggles to score points, when are you going to find yourself in a situation where you're 10 yards from the end zone and with the ability to put points on the board, 3 points on the board? Those come few and far between, hardly ever, once a game, twice a game at the most. So why not take advantage of it? In this case, another penalty. They had a false start or whatever it was. So they ended up going for 2 instead of going from the 5. They're going from the 7. So you're telling me there's a big difference in your play call, or big difference in how that play develops from the 7-yard line versus the 10-yard line. So you may as well have been going for 3. If I'm on this coaching staff, I go for 3 every single time from this moment forward, because when are you going to get another chance to be in that situation from 10 yards out from the end zone with an opportunity to put points on the board? You may as well go for it all or nothing.
My default would always be go for 2 because it's only 5 yards out. 10 yards is a different deal. It's a different animal. It's a different play call. But to me, there is no difference in your play call from the 2-yard line to the 5-yard line. Like, you're calling basically the same 5, 6, 7 set of plays that you have on either one of those. If I'm going to be calling the same play anyway, I might as well go for 2 instead of 1. I do not understand scoring your first touchdown of the game in an offense that has struggled. I'll tell you another little coaching thing that drove me crazy last night as I sat down and got ready for the game. You've revamped your offense. You've got a new offensive coordinator. You've got a new starting quarterback. You, as the home team, get to choose whether you're going to take the ball first or kick it away, and you kick it to the other team. Normally, I don't care what way you go. There's pluses and minuses either side. But in that situation, I think you need to send a message to your team, your fans, and the other team. We're excited about taking the ball and shoving it down your throat. We've got something figured out, and we want to give it a try. It's a little thing, but it bothered me yesterday that Hines Ward said, ugh. It felt like he said, I'm afraid our offense still isn't ready. Give me at least a series, and I'll feel better. I want him to take the field and say, no, we want the ball first because we've got this thing figured out. We're going to get this ball down into the end zone, and we want to show everybody, our fans, our players, your players, that you've come into Alamo Dome and you're not going to see the same team that you've been watching on film. And that's just not what he wanted to do. It's a little thing.
He's not there
yet. Man, I wish they'd have done it different.
Yeah, he's
I agree with Leo. I feel he should have gone for the 3. We've said before on the podcast, they're very vanilla. This is the opportunity to show that I'm going to get a little nasty. When they did the 1 point, it showed they didn't even have enough trust in themselves, no trust in the players that they could do 2 points or do 3 points, that they were only going to go for 1 because maybe that's the safest. And they have to change that mentality, because all we've been seeing is vanilla, 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 and we haven't seen any action. And yes, it does hurt when it's only 2 points, when they could have had the opportunity to at least get those 3 points in the beginning of the game. I mean, you still have 4 more quarters. Let's go for it, and they didn't go for it.
And think about it. It was a 1-point conversion, right? That they ended up having to go from the 7-yard line.
Right.
If they convert that and it was for 3 from 10 yards out, then what's the score at the end of the game, the regulation? 12 to
12,
12.
12 if everything stays the same it
Yeah, if
was
everything stays the
outside
same.
of that.
But
Yeah.
I mean, that's just my point. With a team that's struggling to score, is an unknown quantity on offense right now. When you have an opportunity to take to go for three, you're going to go. I say go for three.
Go for it.
Two at the very minimum. I think one should just not be an option. Dirty says in the Facebook comments here, bad play calling and NFL mindset for your coaching staff is the Brahmas problem.
Nope.
That hits the head on the nail. Just
Mhm.
about.
Well, I mean, bad play calling. Yes, I think you're right. NFL mindset. I'm not sure about that, but the coaching staff is an issue, and I'm not. Look, there are two things that you have to set aside from each other when you talk about people. You have to talk about this is the kind of person they are, and this is professionally what I think of them. And so, hear me when I say I don't have any issue with Hines Ward. He has connected. Viva Texas was talking a second ago about he's embraced the city, the people, the culture. He's accessible to the community. I love all of that. I like Hines Ward. I think he's a bubbly, cool, easygoing guy. I like all of that. I'm going to take all of that for a second and I'm going to put it on a shelf and say, man, I realize you're new at this. I realize that you've never been a head coach anywhere before, and this is something you're learning as you go. And I'm willing to give you a certain amount of grace to do that, but you've got to show improvement. And if anything, I have seen areas of this team, the offense and the overall head coach team, which is him, the head coach, has regressed to me. I do not feel like we are a better team than where we were when we lost to St. Louis in week 1. And I feel like we're worse. I feel like we have regressed. We have come backward. And that bothers me a lot. And a lot of that is on the head coach. It just has to be.
Well, I don't disagree with you on that, Philip, but what I'm saying is take a step back and realize and understand that we're looking of a body of work that consists of 5 games total. 5 games, no preseason, abbreviated training camp. They drafted these guys literally a matter of a couple of weeks before training camp breaks open. Not a lot of preparation time. And we're 5 games into a season with a rookie head coach, and people are saying, "Yeah, I'm done with this guy." I just don't. To me, that expectation is not realistic and not fair. You want a professional head coach to be coaching your team then right off the bat, and that's just not what the XFL can provide at this point. They have a couple of veteran coaches.
They provided it in Houston.
They provided it in
DC.
So at this point, you're saying you'd rather have Wade Phillips as your head coach.
4-1
as a known
1-4.
quantity. No, I know, but at this point, we're looking at one season. Okay, where's Wade Phillips going to be next season? Is there any guarantee he's still going to be the head coach?
I mean, is there any guarantee that Hines Ward's going to be your coach of the San Antonio Brahmas?
No. Well, what I'm saying is I believe Hines Ward wants to be the head coach next year of the San Antonio Brahmas, next year and probably the one after that and maybe even beyond. Wade Phillips, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. So you want to have your one good year instead of build something. You'd rather have a coach that's going to be one and done because either he's retiring or because he's going to take the next step up right away to another
you're talking
job.
About building something, and building something goes up, and there is progress.
It's been
and
5
improvement.
Games. It's been 5 games.
We don't look as good now as we did in the first 2 games of the season. We have come backward. That's not building. That's the opposite of building.
I don't know if that's so much that we're going backwards as other teams in the league are progressing a little bit more, but they're not in the same situation that this team is in. They didn't draft a team to be one thing and are ending up having to totally
made the
dismantle
decisions
that
on who to
plan.
draft and what to set up your team as? Who made that decision as to
Well,
what
that
football
was on
operating
that
was
was
going to
on
look like?
Coach Ward. But
Sure was.
was he the total guy in personnel and drafting? I'm sure he's not the only one making all these decisions. All I'm saying is, I think people are being a little too hasty when they're ready to say, "Oh, we need a different head coach." After 5 games, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet because I think a guy deserves at least a season.
Well,
That's
What do you got,
just
RC?
me.
I think the pressure is that if we don't uh, produce, right, a quality product, which is the Brahma team, you know, the end result could be that we lose the whole league. And I
Yeah.
know that's a lot of pressure compared to like the Cowboys or the Broncos. If they lose 4 in a row, 3 in a row, the league is not in concern that they may not be in next year. I think that is the problem that they're thinking. If we don't do this, then it may affect the whole league. I think they need to just get out there, give it their all, and not worry about that. I think they're just kind of tiptoeing, like, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to do this. Just kind of like go for it because the passion that I saw on the first game, I have not seen it since. And even though we won that one game in Orlando, there wasn't that fire or that passion that like, let me get this done. I just haven't seen it. First game, yes. Since then, I'm gonna say no.
Uh, go to the fourth quarter. Watch the sack of the other Jack on the team, Jack Kerner, on Sloter, where he
Yes.
gets him
Beautiful.
11
Beautiful
That was
yards
play.
good.
back and
That was
pushes
good.
him out of field goal position. Comes over to the sideline. There's a sideline interviewer there. She's there interviewing him, talking about the last play. He removes his helmet. There's literally blood coming down from his chin, and he's unaware. He's just excited about what just happened, the play that he just made. He's excited about the possibility. They're still in it. They have, they still have a chance at winning this game. She has to point out to him, hey, by the way, you might want to clean your chin. You're bleeding. What more do you want from your guys? I mean,
But that's one play when it's
Points
not
on the
often.
scoreboard.
no,
That's what I want from my
It's
I
guys.
not often
understand that,
enough.
but
Not often enough.
what I'm saying is the defense is there. The
Yes.
offense is a work in progress.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, I believe so. I believe it is.
Is it?
There have been some stumbling blocks. There have been some problems. Offensive line, we've all agreed since the beginning, is a huge one. They
Mhm.
got to get things figured out at quarterback. I think
For
Cohen
sure.
isn't the guy. Uh, isn't the
So let's
guy?
talk about Jack Cohen and
Yeah,
Reed Sinnett for a minute, and Jawan Pass and all
yeah.
of the other things. Because Viva Texas pops in and says the offense lacks an offensive leader.
I
I
agree.
think he's right.
True.
I think that for all of the grace that we gave Jack Cohen as a show, because Leo and I and RC all said, hey, give this guy time, let him figure it out. We saw last night
Yeah,
the clear differentiation between anyone else. It happened to be Reed Sinnett and Jack Cohen. And while when Reed Sinnett was in there, it wasn't
Great.
gangbusters. It wasn't amazing. They did score a touchdown. They did move the ball, but they didn't move the ball on every drive or anything like that.
it was his first game out there. I think he did
For
exceptionally
sure.
well.
Well, he did great in
But
the
then
amount of
Jack
time that
got
he
in
had.
there. Jack Cohen got in there, and everything stopped. Everything stopped. So it's clear that Jack Cohen is not the guy. And I'm not saying he's not a guy that could be a successful quarterback in some system somewhere, but in this situation and in this time right now, it's clear that Jack Cohen is not the guy.
Yeah, when your quarterback's best play in more than a half of football is a running play, you got a problem.
Yeah.
And that was by far his best play, the running play where you know which one I'm talking about in the game where he actually got us onto the other side of the field, and then the offense just imploded after that.
Oh, I thought maybe you were talking about the running play where he ran and got a yard from a first down and then just saw another player, a renegade player, and dove headfirst into the field because that's
Still
Jack
doesn't know how
Cohen.
to slide. Still doesn't know
No,
how to
that
slide.
was not his best play.
No, not
That
at all.
was an okay play, but that was on third down, so that's arguable whether that was okay or not, because he had enough space where he had some room where he could have fought for that first down and didn't, and we ended up getting a field goal off of that, I believe. No, I'm talking about later in the game on a QB run that ended up going for probably 12, 14 yards or something like that. And then the next play was he slipped and fell. At first during the game I thought they tried to run the same play, but just to the opposite side. But he lost his footing. But clearly with this offense, with the way the offense is built and the offensive line protecting him, he doesn't have the tools to be successful. And even the play calling changes when he's in there because of that. The coaches recognize this. They respect him because I think he's a respectable guy. He's a smart guy. If you put him in the right situation, he's got the tools to be successful, but this isn't it. This isn't that situation.
I will tell you, based on
yeah.
what I saw last night, and based on what I've seen really through the first 5 games, but really based on what I saw last night, I would have shown back up in Arlington today, called Jack Cohen into my office today, and said, pack a bag. Because here's the thing. Jack Cohen, if he is your quarterback, you are losing the game.
He's playing scared.
Anyone else that you Reed Sinnett, Jawan Pass, going and grabbing somebody off the shelf, you go into the game going, maybe we catch fire. Maybe there's a spark. Maybe we do something. But with Jack Cohen, I learned last night that if Jack Cohen is my quarterback, I cannot win. I can't win the game. You're right. He's playing scared. In fact, you and I were texting each other back and forth when he did not finish out his run on that third down play that would have given him a first down on the other side of the field and possibly moved them into some sort of field goal range, which now, in hindsight, would have been a big deal. Mm-hmm. He gave up on that third down play. He took a headlong dive into the turf because he doesn't know how to slide. And in the midst of all of that, I texted you, he's scared. He's scared. He's scared of getting hit. He's scared of throwing interceptions. He's scared of doing the wrong thing. So he throws the ball into the ground or he gives himself up. He plays scared. Not originally I thought it was he plays smart.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see it that way anymore. I see that he is playing scared. And if that's what I've got, do what?
I feel like he's second guessing himself.
No
confidence there.
Well, maybe he sees any obstacle and goes, well, I don't want to deal with that. Mm-hmm. There's a Renegades player standing a yard beyond the stick. I don't want to deal with that. I'm just going to get myself up here. Oh, there's somebody in that vicinity of that receiver. I don't want to throw that way. It might get tipped. Like, he's playing scared. And based on what I saw last night, I know this sounds harsh, but I really would have called him into the office today and said, we can't use you. I would rather go into battle right now with somebody that I don't know whether they give me a chance or not, because I've decided that you're not going to give me the shot I need to win the game. You always play at quarterback the guy that's going to give you the best chance to win. Jack Cohen is not going to give you the best chance to win. He's just not. In this system, you work out a trade with Orlando and you bring, goodness, Paxton Lynch over here.
Oh, God.
And maybe
I don't know if that's going to work.
And maybe he goes into that offense and he starts playing well because it's an offense that's better suited to him. I don't know. I'm just in this system. He's not going to work. It's not going to work. Robert Rankin checking in. I haven't run across this yet, but I hear that this is on the broadcast. The best comment watching the broadcast was the Renegades defensive back after the pick, after the interception. They just keep running the same plays. Yep.
Yep. And Lolies is right. What she's saying here, he's bound to get hurt if he plays scared. When you play
Sure.
True.
the sport of football, you can't play scared because that's exactly how you get hurt. And what that's a question right there. The situation that the Brahmas are in, we don't know Reed Sinet's condition. They asked him after the game, he didn't even know.
He said I gotta see the doctor and I'll let you know.
Yeah, it was a lower foot, wasn't a high ankle sprain. So that's something positive.
I would love to tell our listeners and watchers that I reached out to the team today and asked about his status, and they got back to me and said, here's what we know. And then I would give you some sort of update. I will tell you part of that statement is true. I reached out to the team today and asked for an update on Reed Sinet. I have received zero communication back from the team. Not terribly surprising, but I was hoping that I would be able to give you some sort of update on what they might know today, but alas, nothing. So Viva Texas wants to trade Cohen for Mickey Mouse and a season pass to Disney World, like a stuffed.
I'd rather have Mickey Mouse and a season pass to Disney World than Paxton Lynch, for sure.
Maybe, for sure. No, for sure. I would, if they tell me, if at any point over the next 4 or 5 days we hear that Jack Cohen is going to start the game against Arlington next week, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I don't know how I'm going to handle that. Like, I'm going to watch the game and I'm going to hope for the best because I'm a fan and I want, him to figure it out. And I want, despite what I feel like is true, I want the best for my team. But if they tell me he's starting, I would definitely, if I were laying money, lay it on Arlington at that point.
They may not have any options other than that. I mean, they obviously don't have confidence for some reason in Juwan Pass.
Is there an injury issue with Juwan Pass?
What's going on there?
What was that?
I said, is there an injury going on there? Oh, sorry.
No.
Is there an injury issue with Juwan Pass? Because I saw somebody the other day say he's not available for another week or two. Is he on some sort of reserve list?
No idea. They haven't announced anything that I've seen. I haven't seen anything out there publicly said, official. But I think to this point, there's a reason, right? There has to be.
I did hear a rumor. And it's just rumor. Rumors are what they are. Take them or leave them. I am not passing this along as news or truth. I am passing it along as a rumor that someone overheard a player on the Brahmas roster in conversation say that Juwan Pass has every skill set he needs to play quarterback for this team, except the skill set he needs above the shoulders.
He's not processing the playbook. He's not grasping.
Yeah.
Between
and again, that's helmet. A rumor. That's a rumor that I heard from a guy who heard it from a guy who heard it from a player. A guy actually, he heard it directly from a player. But in any case, if that's the case, if that's true, that would give you pause. That would give any of us pause as fans, as coaches, as anybody else. If he was struggling to make the right decisions and process the playbook in the way we needed him to, any of us would go, I don't know. I don't know if that's the guy I want to put the ball in his hands.
Hold on. The Brahmas office is calling me. Not. They never give us.
I almost believe you for a second there.
I was like, all right, live.
They were calling to say, tell Philip to shut up right now. Nobody said that ever. Tell him to be quiet.
They don't, and I don't understand because I've reached out to them. I know y'all have reached out to them. All we want to do is help the team, and we want to be that connection between the fans and the team. And it seems like we're the plague, that they don't want to have anything to do with us, Love them as people, I just don't get it.
Dirty checking in on Facebook says, 100% right, Philip Higginbotham. hey, Dirty, I don't even know what you're talking about, but I know that's true because whatever you're agreeing with me
What are you
on,
referring
I'm
to?
100% right. That's the way it works, man.
Don't make his head bigger.
I am hopeful. The one thing I like about the fact that Reed Sedette did not know yesterday what his injury was, I am hopeful it's something small.
Yeah.
Because it
That's
wasn't
best
a
case scenario.
fracture. It wasn't a fracture. It wasn't something that they could quickly identify like a fracture, maybe even a high ankle sprain, although that's something you usually get in an MRI. Those are the things that I immediately thought when Leo sent me a picture of Reed Sedette on crutches, which
I know.
for those of you that watched the broadcast, did they not make it clear that Reed Sedette was injured?
No.
Yeah, they said he was questionable to return. And they showed him going into the tent and they showed him with a limp on the sideline, but they never showed him that I saw what I saw there live at the game with him in a boot and crutches. And when I saw the broadcast later, I was like, there's nothing questionable about that. He's done.
Because I see a lot of folks saying, I don't understand why they took Reed Sedette out. And then it falls into one of two categories. I don't understand why they took him out in the first half when they gave Jack that one series. I agree with that. But even some people are like, no, why didn't they put him back in the second half? They didn't put him back in the second half because he was injured.
Yeah, but not in the first half. And that's my biggest gripe with Hines Ward making that decision, putting Cohen in there in the first half when he didn't really have to, just because it was decided going into the game. And, I would disagree with that decision to begin with of, okay, we're going to give one guy a couple series and another guy a couple series. That just has never worked.
I've never been a fan of that. I didn't like it in the Mike Riley days when we were Commanders fans. I did not like seeing it last night. It felt like we were building. It felt like we were improving offensively to me. And then you just kind of short-circuited all of that because you took your offensive momentum and you put it in Jack Cohen's hands and he threw it into the ground or whatever he does with the ball. It just didn't work out. And the injury is what it is. Like, you can't help that. Reed Sedette got injured. They put Jack Cohen in. That's all. That's all they could do at that point. But I do not understand the decision there in the first half at all.
Yeah, that kind of irked me. And a lot of fans around me, they were like, "Why is Cohen back in the game?" And I was like, honestly, I had no idea why Cohen was in there at that point, especially when Sedette was moving the ball well and scored a touchdown. Like, to me, he had earned the right to continue playing and showing what he's got. We saw what Cohen had for 4 games. We saw it. Sedette had earned the right to stay in there, I think. And that's my biggest criticism of Hines Ward right there for this game.
They pulled him out too quick and for no reason.
David checking in on Facebook. Speaking of Commanders, did you see Kenneth Farrow running the ball for the Renegades? I did. I also saw Kenneth Farrow on a cart drive past me going toward the tunnel. So I hope Kenneth Farrow is okay. I realize he's an Arlington Renegade right now, but he was one of my favorite Commanders guys, and I don't want to see anything like that happen.
He wasn't on the Arlington roster to start the season. They picked him up a couple of weeks into the season, and I don't think I've ever been mad about seeing someone get picked up in the XFL until that point, and probably since then. I saw that and I got mad. I was like, are you kidding me? Kenneth Farrow was available and he's on any other team besides the San Antonio team. It just felt so wrong. But when he was
we don't need another running back.
Yeah, well, that's true. I understood that, but I was just, I was upset when I read that. And then I saw him out there and, he played some last week as well and had looked really good until he got hurt. When he got hurt, I was like, man, I hope he recovers quickly.
Before I went to the suite, I'm sorry about that. So before I went to the suite, I saw a guy in a jersey with the Commander, and it had Farrow on the back.
Yeah, he's a big fan of Kenneth Farrow. He actually was supposed to get an autograph after the game. I hope that happened for him. But I talked to him at the tailgate before the game, and he said he had actually made contact with Kenneth Farrow, told him he was going to be there in his Kenneth Farrow Commander's jersey, and that
Awesome.
Kenneth Farrow
I
was
love
very
that. I
excited
love
about
it.
that. Elizabeth Clayton checking in on Facebook. I love my Brahmas no matter what. Well, good. Because they need you. They need those fans. They need fans like us, because
Yep.
you're not going to get the casual fan.
No.
If things don't improve in these next 2 games on the road, which for everybody that is on the cliff, for everybody that's ready to jump off the ledge, I did the math today.
They're still in it.
If they
You
beat
did math?
Arlington,
Okay.
if they beat Arlington and they beat Vegas, they will obviously have a 1-game jump with Arlington because Arlington will have to lose versus them. And then Arlington plays Seattle, and Seattle is a better team than Arlington. So they lose that week too, the way I see it. And then all bets are off. If I do my math right, we have a tied record with Arlington at that point. I don't know what it comes down to, what the second, because our head-to-head matchup will be 1-1. So I guess it would be the division.
Well, it might be point differential. I was saying they beat us by 2. We got to beat them by at least 3 points at their place, and then maybe have the upper hand. But I don't know what the next tiebreaker is. Maybe someone
Right.
can chime in and let us know. But if it's point differential, then all we got to do is get a win by 3 or more.
But if we can beat Arlington, and we should have beat Arlington last night. If we can beat Arlington and we can beat Vegas, we're still in this thing. Like, we're only halfway through the season. There's no reason to give up yet. It looks grim. And if they don't get the offense working, it's going to be rough. And I get all of that. But there's no reason that we have to pack things in now and be like, well, there's always next year. It's not that time yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. We may get there, but it's not there. Herb Phillips checking in on YouTube. Yeah, we're on YouTube too. And he says, I'll be there, ride or die. That's great. The next home game, obviously Easter Sunday, April 9th, there in the Alamo Dome against the Houston Roughnecks. Gonna be a big game, especially if San Antonio can get these next 2 wins. It starts to set things up with some momentum. Look, they're so close. Any offensive production at all, and they're winning games instead of losing them.
It's really tough because they're really so close. Like, I think there's only one position they gotta get figured out. But unfortunately, that position is quarterback.
Is the quarterback position.
The major one. It's the major one.
But that's all. That's really all it is. They're very, very close to being a totally different team than what we've seen. And I thought we saw hints of it in the first half with Reed Sinnett. I really did.
Yeah.
It was exciting to see some new blood in there.
Viva Texas saying he's looking forward to being at every game, home and away from here on out. Man, I wish that was my story. It's not. But enjoy those. Enjoy those games all the way up in Arlington, all the way out in Vegas. You're going to both of those, Leo, yeah? You're going to every one of the remaining games as well, yes?
Yes. I will, by end of season, I will have been at 8 of the possible 10 games. So just missing Seattle and Orlando. Those were too far. I couldn't make those trips.
I hear
you. Where's your passion? Where's your commitment?
Come on.
Leo. The passion and the commitment is there. It's the funding that's not.
Yes. Well, I won't be going to Arlington, and I won't be going to Vegas either.
Okay. So, I'm not going to Arlington. I'm not going to Vegas either.
To watch games.
I will be watching the games from the coast here in Texas. So I don't know. So that's the game. That, we'll talk more about it. Keep leaving your comments. Keep telling us what struck you. We do want to transition because we did have a great time at the tailgate. And hey, even if they lose the next 2 games, you should be at the next home game
for sure.
if for no other reason, then you should come out and enjoy an incredible tailgate. If you are a person that likes awesome people and good food, it's worth your $25 to park and be a part of the tailgate. Yeah. Or I'm sorry,
And
$40
I will bring
once
up
you go
that point.
through tailgate or
Now,
once you go through Ticketmaster.
if you went through Ticketmaster, the fees were almost $48.
40,
I did not
38, 40.
38. I did
Yeah.
not go and do that. I just pulled up and I paid $25 on my credit card, no fee. So maybe there was a miscommunication, or maybe there's a push
Yeah,
for
that's
the
interesting.
fans to
My
go.
understanding from the San Antonio Brahmas organization, and since they haven't reached out to me to clarify any of this, even though I've asked those questions, this is what I got to go with,
They didn't
is
call
that
you.
they were not going to allow anyone to park in B or C without prepaid parking passes.
You're
That's not
correct,
true.
Philip. I have seen that. I have seen that put out there. I have seen the exact same thing you're talking about. But like RC, I can also attest that it's either A, not true, or B, that's not being communicated to the parking attendants out there, because you are able to purchase parking passes at the entrance to the parking lot. They are there charging for parking passes if you need to purchase one.
But as soon as
So
you walk
go
up or
figure.
drive up, they have the credit card machine in their hand. Why
Right.
would they have that unless they know that you can pay right then and there?
Well, because it's the same thing that they scan your barcode with. It's all the same scanner. You know, it's all one machine. Via Texas, every single person who has visited has left San Antonio saying that tailgate was incredible and they've never been so welcomed anywhere else. That's true.
Was Los Mostillos? Because
We
I
do
made
it
a
different.
bet with him that we had the best tailgating. I haven't heard a peep out of him.
If he makes it up, I think he will make it up for the Houston Roughnecks game. I don't know about Carlos, but if he comes up, I think he would be coming up for that game. And I hope he does, because it's an incredible experience. We saw everybody. And it wasn't even a full tailgate. Like,
No,
we only had
but we
13,000 people there, very disappointingly so. But yeah, no, I think Jason, you have this worst tailgate, laugh out loud, being pulled up. I think he's referring to the Houston tailgate, because as RC was mentioning about Los Misterios, everything I've heard, now I can't say from firsthand experience because I didn't make it to the tailgate. I was with family that live in Houston. But everything I heard from people that witnessed it, their tailgate is awfully weak compared to other places. Not even San Antonio, just other places that they're just not. It might have something to do with the area that the stadium is in, because I've heard a lot of bad things about that. So, I mean, might not be the best place you want to hang out all day long outside. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I told him we had a better tailgate, and then he says, "You don't want to make a bet with me," and I said, "Bring it." Well, that's a bet, right?
Oh no, he Dirty clarifies San Antonio is the worst tailgate.
Well, now Dirty's just being a troll, because I mean he's good at that. So troll on, Dirty. That's okay.
This lady, I'm not sure if you know this person or not, Leo. Lolis Yamas.
She's kind of cute. I'm gonna ask her for her number.
I love sharing food and drinks with everyone. Anyone is welcome. I got to tell you, I hung out around Dolores and Leo yesterday at their tent. They had some of the most amazing fajitas.
Delish.
It was incredible. It was amazing. And we
I'm
saw
fat
everybody
for a reason, people. There's a reason I am fat.
We
and
saw
Loli's is a major
Texas.
contributor.
We saw Van Hurst, the mayor of the XFL. Yes. We saw Marcy Grace, Alamo
Distillery.
Alamo Distillery was there. There was a guy that was just trying to make a name for himself in barbecue, and so he pulled up and gave free brisket away.
Oh man, that brisket was so tender.
I
And
think he's a friend of Jorge, though.
Yeah,
yeah,
Jorge,
if
give
you
us the
would,
name of them if you don't mind, so we can give them a shout out.
And then my
yeah,
friend Patricia Graham had that mobile um, photo booth going around taking pictures of everybody.
right,
And then if
right.
they had an iPhone, she'd download the picture right then and there. Very interactive. We had props. We even had the police officers taking pictures. We were taking pictures of them. So we had a lot going on there. I had invited Marcy to come out. I originally had told her if she could bring her guitar, and then she said she wasn't able to. And then at the last minute, she says, "Yes, I'm coming." So I'm glad that I was able to reach out to her and invite her to come tailgate.
It was great to see Marcy Grace.
It
I haven't
was.
seen her in a while. I listen to her music all the time. We made a connection with her all the way back in the Commanders days when she wrote a song for the San Antonio Commanders that the San Antonio Commanders used one time
One
in
time.
the middle of a second quarter of a Commanders game for some odd reason. And if you didn't know that that was her, you wouldn't have known it was her song. I think that it is possible that um, she may have something in the works with the San Antonio Brahmas, but that's all I'm going to say about that. I think it's possible. Keep your ear to the ground because Marcy Grace may be putting something together. And she is one of two people. We actually
Yeah.
have
Mhm.
a Brahmas song that will be dropping.
April 7th, between April 7th and 9th.
Yeah.
Just around the
Yeah.
corner.
And
Super
that is from Captain Brahma
Captain Brahma
Brahma.
himself. Yeah.
and his band. Viva Texas checking in. Marty was the sweetest person. Marcy is great.
Yeah.
Marcy is spectacular. She is a great person to be around, an amazing person to talk sports with because she is a huge sports fan,
Mhm.
and her music is awesome. Like I am a huge, huge Marcy Grace fan. Love her stuff.
She's great. I'm glad
Yeah.
that we've been able to keep that connection from Commander days. She's
Mm-hmm.
always inviting me to go out to wherever she's playing, Thirsty Horse, Bernie, you name it. And I'm like I said, I'm glad she felt close enough to come out and just hang out with us.
Yeah, it's great to see people out in the community really engaged with this team, and going the extra mile with their fandom and doing things like making music. You've got Marcy and Captain Brahma. Brian Winslow and Viva Texas both have heard the song. They're chiming in on Facebook how great it is. Um, it's called Stand Up. But yeah, it's a hard rock song, so
Mhm.
it's pretty cool. But it's just to see the fandom and spreading. People are at the games, and part of their highlight beyond the game and the tailgating experience is just meeting some of these guys while they're there, meeting Marcy Grace, getting a chance to meet Marcy Grace, a chance to meet El Mariachi, getting a chance to meet traveling people that are popular like the mayor, and Captain Brahma. There was one story that I witnessed that was kind of cool, where a kid with his family was walking by and he saw Captain Brahma, recognized him, came up to him, and he's like, "Hey, Captain Brahma." He turns around, he said, "Yeah," and he goes, "I have a question to ask you." He's like, "Can I be your sidekick? I'd love to be Lieutenant Brahma, and I'll dress up and everything, and I'll come and hang out with you
Oh.
at the games." And he was like, "Yeah, bring it. Come on. I can't wait to see what you've got." So that was pretty cool. The kid must have been, 12 years old, something like that. And he just comes up to him and he's like, and then I believe he asked him for his autograph. So, I mean, it's kind of cool when you get to kind of share of so much of yourself when it comes around this team, that it becomes like people that embrace the team, they see you so much around that you kind of become part of that for them as well, where they're even asking you for autographs. That to me, that's cool. That's just great. I love to see that.
Absolutely.
Because if you're not excited about the players and you're not excited about the game, and if you're not excited about wins or losses, you definitely have to get excited about the fans that we have for the Brahmas. They are amazing. They're like I said before. I kind of I made the term family fans, because that's what. As soon as you get on there, people like I had my tent never opened it. I bought it just for the tailgate. I got there. Someone said, "Do you need some help?" I'm like, "Actually, I do." Boom, boom, boom. Like 2 seconds later, my whole tent was up. So it just shows you what kind of fans we really do have. Great spirit. They're passionate, and I know the losses are hard. I know it. I get it. It's hard to watch them, and then when they only lose by 2 points, but man, we got the best fans. I mean, we really do. I love it.
Here you go. Let's see if you can hear this on the. Oh, I got to turn the sound off. Still not hearing it, are we? Well, never mind. I was going to try to play.
Yeah, that's not coming
forward,
across so good.
horns forward.
No.
But that's the hook right there. Horns forward, horns.
Yeah,
forward.
horns forward. Very exciting. Good solid song. I'm still trying to work out the technical side so we can hear it. But
you see his name there, Soup Mike Steele. If you want to go look him up and find him, I'm sure you'll find him. You look for Captain Brahma. It looks like he's shared a teaser of that song. He gave us permission to tease the song as well.
Well, there you go.
We're not doing
Technology
it
is
justice.
great
It does
until it
sound
isn't.
better.
I will work on that for a couple more minutes and see if I can figure out why I'm not hearing it, because I'm not hearing it on my side either.
Well, I did want to mention one of the reasons why I'm not going to the Easter game is because I'm going to go see my grandbaby. She was born on Saturday, 8 pounds, 1 ounce. So I'm an abuela now.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations. I didn't even know that was happening there. That's a big deal.
Yes. My stepdaughter in Arizona, she's pregnant and well, not anymore. And
Right.
so she delivered on Saturday and super excited. Naya Cheyenne, I call her Shia. So I'm going to go visit my grandbaby. So super excited. So that takes precedent over the game. Sorry.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Philip's still working on that song.
Y'all keep talking.
Since we're talking about family stuff, I do want to mention and send a congratulations and happy anniversary, because I see that Mo Ferrante is on the Facebook group right now and commenting. And Mo and Iris were at the game pulling hard for our Brahmas all the way to the end. And it was their, I think, 7-year anniversary. And they spent it at the game instead of going out. That was their anniversary celebration. I felt bad that the team couldn't come up with a win for them on that occasion, but nonetheless, they had a good time. I know we talked afterwards, and we're still pulling for the win in the next one.
Happy anniversary.
7 years. Happy anniversary to you guys.
Let's see if we got it.
Can you hear that now?
Yes.
So there you go. There's a little bit of
little
a song that you can look for soon on
one of the songs. Yeah.
One of the songs. Yeah. I think you might have a couple of options.
Maybe, yeah.
Sooner or later. Mo says it's their 7-year anniversary that they celebrated last night. Congratulations to both of them. And they said they had a great time at the game. That's good, because that's what you deserve. You deserve having a great time, doing what you enjoy. And Mo and Iris have always been big supporters of San Antonio pro football, right there with us, whether it's Commanders or Gunslingers or Brahmas, they've been right there with us, and that's
Yep.
that's awesome stuff.
Great people.
So we can still make some noise. We can still have a postseason. I mean, I realize that I'm going to say this and I'm going to start talking playoffs, and somebody's going to jump in the comments and say, playoffs? I just hope we win a game.
Yeah.
And I understand that. But really, you have a crappy first half of the season. But if you have a really good, solid second half of the season in an 8-team league, you can still make your way into the playoffs. And would you rather be good at the beginning of the year or at the end of the year as you head into the playoffs? I mean, I'd rather be good the whole time, I guess.
That'd be great.
If we could do that. But it is not in the cards. The first half of the season has not gone well.
No.
But it's possible that the second half of the season could come up. I mean, look, they were not far off from beating Houston.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk about, hey, they can beat Arlington, and sure, they can beat Vegas. Heck, they can beat Houston. I know that seems like a crazy idea right now, but any offensive production at all, and that game against Houston is a game again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Seattle. So you could substitute Seattle in there for Houston as well. I know you're saying Houston because they've only lost one game, but the game they lost was
but we've
Seattle.
got another game. We've
So,
got another game against Houston coming up.
Yeah, that's true. They've been in every game as bad as the offense has been, with a chance to win it at the end, and they just haven't been able to. It's like Coach Ward said, execution. We're not executing.
Yeah.
It's like he said in the post-game conference. He recognizes the problem. He's trying to figure out what is the answer to that problem. What is the solution? It's a tough job, you know. I understand why people are getting frustrated, but it's not easy.
Elizabeth Clayton, this is their first year. They're all still learning, and that's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely true. We've talked and we've alluded to the post-game press conference, but it occurs to me that a lot of folks have not heard it. So Leo and I were talking about this a little bit beforehand, and maybe we take an opportunity now to just kind of go through some of this, and we may stop it some along the way. We weren't able to be in the room for the press conference. I have some questions I would have loved to have asked.
Me too.
But that's just not what we get to do. But for now, here is Hines Ward and his post-game press conference.
So you want to be a ball coach, huh? that's kind of. Listen, man, we're just not executing. We're for whatever reason. Hats off to Arlington. I mean, they came in our home. They executed better than we did. It's just frustrating. I see the hard work that these kids put into it, but right now it's just more of a mental thing. We all understand why a lot of these guys are here in the XFL, and I'm trying like hell to help them out. And a lot of it really doesn't have to do with football. It's stuff outside of football. So that's why my frustrations, man, are so high, because I see the guys putting in a lot of work, and I see the time that they committed to it, but the lack of execution. I mean, of course, it always starts with the head coach. I tried to change some things up offensively. Having Reed started off, he ended up with a foot injury in the second half. Couldn't play for the rest of the game. We lost Norman Price with a knee injury, so he went down. He's gutting it out, trying his best to stay in the fight.
Now, I will tell you, I'm going to pause it right there for a second, and I will tell you, I watched this earlier today and immediately sent both of you a message and said, it feels like Hines Ward is defeated. He seems defeated. Now, granted, this is a few minutes after you've taken your third loss in a row. We've all been there. We've all felt defeated too last night as we were leaving the stadium. Well, about the time you were working your way through the parking lot at the stadium, that's when we're talking about Hines Ward having this conversation with media. So, but he does sound like he's kind of out of ideas. Like, I don't know what else to do. Do you get that feeling, Leo?
Not really. I'm taking it from a different take. I am taking the words that he's saying, and the way I'm translating that is frustration, not so much defeated, but more in frustration of, he mentioned injuries.
Mhm.
He mentioned, he's made some changes. He recognizes adjustments. The very first thing he talked about was players, but not in the fashion that we've seen from like guys like, oh, I don't know, Terrell Buckley, where he's pointing the finger at them.
Right.
Right,
It's
For
not
more
sure.
in a
of,
negative way.
I'm putting it on my shoulders. I feel really bad for these guys because I see the work they're putting into it, but we're just not able to execute for certain things. And it's more of a mental aspect than a talent aspect. So I think, in my opinion, I think Hines Ward takes the whole underlying purpose of this league, which is getting these guys looked at, getting these guys a chance to move up. I mean, he mentioned at the beginning of the season, one of his top goals was to get, I forget what percentage of his team, in NFL camps. I think he takes that really seriously, more so over than uh, trying to do everything he can to win games, which is why I think Cohen is even still getting looked at. That's why he was in there in that first half, I
Yeah.
believe. Um, so I think it's more a frustration where like he knows exactly what needs to be done and he's trying to get that accomplished, but things outside of his control are coming up, such as injuries, and just such of these mental blocks where he talks about players where they get down on themselves. They can't. I think I'm getting ahead of it because I think he's going to talk about it in a little bit where something bad goes on and they take it too much to heart. I think he's on the right track. I don't see so much defeat as frustration.
Okay.
Jeffers had a ankle injury, so I appreciate all these guys fighting their tails off, but third down efficiency wasn't up to our standards. The lack of explosive plays.
Let me stop it right there and say, is he talking about our third down efficiency, which has always been bad, or is he talking about defensively? We were bad on third downs defensively this game.
We
That
were.
hasn't traditionally been the case, but we could not get off the field on third downs, it seemed like.
No, they couldn't. And going back and watch the broadcast, I think a lot of that was fatigue because I think the offense had a lot of short possessions. Again, something
Right.
we're not used to, but the defense was on the field a lot. And there were times where they even created turnovers and came off the field, and then before they knew it, they were back out there again. So, but yeah, definitely more struggles from uh, the defensive side than the offense than what we're used to seeing.
We're going to jump right back into the press conference here in a second, but I have to mention that we have a special guest checking in on Facebook, Caleb Roller. Hope
Woo!
y'all are doing well and have a blessed night. Caleb, we're going to
Big
be
Red.
talking. We're going to be talking some gunslinger stuff right near the end of the show because they started training camp today.
Yep.
They started working on their season right now. And
Love
hey,
it.
all that stuff you guys are man, I would go watch San Antonio professional football if it was a winning team. Hey, if you're one of those people, start signing up for your tickets to the
Mhm.
Gunslingers because that's going to be good stuff. Let's jump right back into this with Hines Ward, though.
Wasn't up to our standards. We just got to find a way to be able to adjust in the second half. I thought we did good to get some points at the end. We went down there and we had a turnover. That was the one thing I've been stressing. When you're not clicking on all cylinders, you can't turn the football over. We had two today, um, which um, they got the turnover and then they went 98 yards down and scored on us. So that's just a momentum killer there. But I mean, it is what it is. We're 1-14. Just frustrated, man, because I know we're better than that. It's just, we got to execute better. And until we do that, we're going to continue to struggle. So that was really my message to the team. We face this team again next week in Arlington. So, we're familiar with each other. This hurts. It's a divisional game, and I've learned a lot about myself. I'm learning a lot about my teams. I'm learning a lot about my coaches. So as you're getting thrown into the fire, you're trying your best to put out a lot of fires and trying to adjust and get things how you want it. So I'm still learning. I'm still growing, and but I'm going to get things fixed. I'm going to start doing the things how I want it to do.
Coach, what went into the decision to start Reed?
We just needed something different. I mean,
Amen.
it wasn't nothing against Jack. It's just, you know, philosophies. We just needed a whole new reset. You know, I love Reed's mobility. I think that he got us a lot of when protection broke down. He was able to create. I think you saw that on the touchdown pass that he threw to Vasher. And in this league, when protection is not at a premium, you need athleticism, being able to move around in the pocket and create things, and that's what Reed brought to the table.
So let me ask you a question, Leo. Is this something he's just realizing?
Might be. I mean, because when he built this team, and there's that NFL thinking that
Right.
Dirty was mentioning earlier. When he built this team, he said, "I'm going to build this on defense and running game." That was the plan. Maybe he didn't realize that the offensive line play was not going to be where it needs to be if you want to do that. DC has been able to do it though. DC has they're undefeated, and they've built that team on a strong running game and a strong defense. So it's not impossible, but it just seems like maybe he's realizing we don't have the guys in place to be able to do that, whether it's a question of talent or a question of injuries, because they've been hit hard since the very first game. They were hit on the offensive line with injuries.
Right. But he's talking about Reed Sinette's mobility, and
yeah,
it was obvious. Like, we were texting each other during the game, and there were several plays that's like, that's why you need Reed Sinette, was that particular
when the protection isn't there.
Yeah.
So he's pointed at the offensive line with that comment, if you unpack that statement a little bit.
But I got the sense from what he was saying was, across the league, protection is not great in this league. And he's right. With the possible exception of DC, I don't think anybody really has offensive line play figured out very well. In fact, it was brought up today on the XFL subreddit that maybe the XFL should have considered AAF style defensive rules, because it's become clear that defenses are doing a way better job getting to quarterbacks than offensive lines are doing protecting them. And that was something that the AAF noted was going to happen from the beginning, and said, we're going to put some rules in place so you could only have 5 guys rushing the quarterback. You could not overload on a blitz, and they had to be within a certain yardage of the tackle box. Like, you couldn't have a corner come and do a corner blitz. You couldn't have a safety come in. They had to be within a certain area to be able to be one of those rushers on the quarterback.
Might not be a bad idea at this at this level. Yeah,
I mean, with what we're seeing
Think about.
across the league, not just in San Antonio, but across the league, maybe.
I don't know how severe his foot injury is, but it was just sad because he worked his tail off. He was super excited, man. He's always been a consummate pro. Even when he wasn't named a starter, he was helping. Actually had some insights on some plays. So hopefully we'll see where his foot is with that. But I love the crap out of him, man, because he's everything you want in a quarterback. I mean, from first guy in the building to show up, the last guy to leave. I mean, he really loved ball. So
Gabriel Romero with my SA,
Mhm.
and I just wanted to see what are some of the challenges of playing the same team 2 weeks in a row.
Um, yes, I've never done it ever, but it's just a part of the business. I mean, for us, we we have to clearly change something in the game plan to make something that's different. We just got to be more efficient, and we got to score some points, man. Um, I was on the team during my playing days where the offense we weren't scoring points, but our defense found ways to create some points and create turnovers to put us in the short field. And right now, we're just not complimenting each other. Tenny got an interception and we went right down and scored. We have to do more on that, and that's what I was in search for. But all season long, being 1-4, we've shown flashes. We just haven't been able to keep it consistent for a full 60 minutes. And I think that's all a part of the learning process, the growth of our players, developing these players. And like I said, maybe we got some playmakers. We just have to keep pushing them to get better, teaching them how to be a pro, teaching them you got to have a short memory when things don't go well. I can tell you what I've seen thus far in the league when things don't go well. A lot of these kids go in the tank very fast, and that's what we got to help develop them now. Especially if you're trying to go at the next level, you're going to get beat because they get paid too. But it's the good ones who can be able to have a short-term memory and respond and bounce back. And I think that with the players that we have in our league, I see that a lot. They can't overcome themselves of making a mistake or getting beat on the coverage. They just dwell on it, And the next thing you know, another play happens, and it's like it's a snowball effect. So I'm trying like hell to help the players in that sense, and I'm going to continue to be on them and help them because, you know, I can see that's the reason why they're down here playing in our league in the XFL. They just have to grow and to develop about being a pro about that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah. How did it feel to be back here after?
Man, I love San Antonio, man. I'm disappointed, man, because I want to give the fans more. You know, um, I signed up for this job, um, thinking that man, it'd be so awesome to uh, bring a nice product and put on the field.
That's what I'm talking about, Philip.
For our fans,
Yeah.
for the good people of San Antonio, man. So I'm more disappointed in myself, not only for the players,
Right there.
but for the fans of San Antonio, man. I mean, I know tickets aren't cheap. I know a lot of people, they spend their hard-earned money to come out and show their support, and I appreciate the hell out of them for doing that. So I apologize because it's my job as a head coach to put a better product on the field, and I'm gonna work like crazy to do that. I will do that. I don't sleep at night because I want it I want it not only from my players but for the fans. So my brain is always going to tweak things and be
Yep.
wondering how can I improve this thing, and I'm gonna do all I can to get this thing right. So it's been a while since we played at home, but right now we're 0-2. So I know we finished the season up with 3 games, man. I want to make sure that the people get their money's worth in those last 3 games, man. I think we owe it to our fan base to do that, and I'm going to keep pushing forward. I'm going to keep changing things to get it right. So whatever I got to do, I'm going to do all I can to fix it because
Yeah.
So right, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I would say so. Right there is what I'm talking about. When I watched this press conference, and it came to my mind the people that are saying, "Oh, Hines Ward isn't the answer at coach. It's he's a terrible head coach. We need to move on. He's I won't even go as say the harsh words that I've seen said towards Hines Ward at this point. When I'm like, this is a guy with no head coaching experience, first year. We're 5 games into a season, and he's got the right attitude. He's got players that are playing hard. Yeah, they're not winning. The offense isn't pulling through, but they're still playing hard all the way to the end. They're not giving up. The players are excited for the fan base. He's excited for the fan base. Wade Phillips isn't going to sit there and talk about like, I apologize. It's my fault, and I feel bad for the
Wade
fan
Phillips
base.
doesn't need to.
The
He's
great
winning
fans.
games.
But if he were in that situation, he's not going to care about how much Joe and Sally and whatever from San Antonio are paying for their tickets to come and watch the game. He's not. This guy is invested in this team, and he's invested in building something for San Antonio. And I have a lot of respect for that. I mean, as a San Antonio football fan, that's exactly what we need, because we've seen these other leagues come and go, and we've seen the failures, and we need a guy that's going to fight tooth and nail to make it work right here in this town. That's what we need first and foremost, above all else. And so for people to give up on this guy after only 5 games as a head football coach, when he's been competitive in every single game, hasn't lost a single game out more than a 1-score differential, and people are already ready to throw him out in the trash. I just don't understand it. I don't understand it one little bit.
So I would not fire Hines Ward. I know that there are some folks that have said that they're going to be at the Easter or Sunday game with shirts on that say fire Hines Ward.
I don't get it.
That's their right. They can do that.
They can do it all they want, but
I would not do that. I would not make a change mid-season. I think Viva Texas said something earlier about you don't do that. I agree. My point is not we need to get rid of Hines Ward. My point is actually, in hindsight, Hines Ward never should have been the head coach of the San Antonio Brahmas. Now that we can't do anything about that, and so we move forward with what we have. But bringing in Hines Ward, Terrell Buckley, Rod Woodson, it hasn't worked. It is an experiment that is not working. And unfortunately, we are caught up in the tires, underneath the tires of all of that. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
I do. I get it, but I just don't think. I think that people that are that short-sighted and after only 5 games are willing to give up on a guy that has that attitude and hasn't given you any reason to. I mean, he's taken responsibility for all of this, and some things that he doesn't even really have to, but he's gone above and beyond to make it clear that he puts it on his own shoulders.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I do.
that's something I think that deserves.
However,
give the guy some credit, and then especially still being competitive in your first 5 games against veteran head coaches that he's had to compete against. I just don't think he's getting enough credit for the performance he's put to this point. I understand 1-4 isn't good. I understand the people of San Antonio feel that any team we have, they need to be, a winning team, or else they're not good enough for us to be in the stands. We'll just watch them on TV, or we won't watch them at all. But I think that's a San Antonio attitude that needs some adjustment. That's just BS. That's stuff that we got spoiled with the Spurs being that good for so long. It's all that we had, and we got used to it, and we think that's all San Antonio deserves. That is incorrect. I'm sorry, but it's incorrect. I just don't get it.
And that kind of attitude, it may not be to Las Vegas, but if you keep that kind of attitude in San Antonio around professional sports, do not be surprised if there is a day where the Spurs float off somewhere else.
Yep.
Just know, I'm not threatening you. I'm a Dallas Mavericks fan. I don't want to say I don't care about the Spurs. I actually really do care about the Spurs. But I'm telling you right now, if that's the attitude of San Antonio professional football or professional sports fans, and you stop going to Spurs games because they're terrible or because they're having a rough time, and you do that long enough, eventually San Diego comes along and says, hey, we'll give you a stadium, an arena to play basketball here. And your team goes, whoof, and it's gone. So that attitude, Leo's absolutely right. It's a San Antonio thing, and it needs to get fixed, because this idea of We're amazing football fans because of what happened with the Commanders. Okay, now you get to prove whether you're amazing football fans or not. Now is the time you get to prove whether that's true or not. Will you still show up for a 1-4 team? Hey, we got a guest joining us.
Yeah,
We got
real
somebody
quick.
popping on. Go ahead.
Real quick, I know RC's got a hard stop that she has to leave us real soon, so I wanted to just give her an opportunity to give us some parting thoughts with everything that we've talked about before she has to go, and then we can continue.
Well, I appreciate that, and I will say in the last couple of seconds that I have, um, and this is I don't know why this is. I know we were down 10,000 fans, but the first collection that we had for food, I had full, a trunk full of food.
Yes.
Today, I had a bag full, and that was
Yeah.
it. And I get it; things are more expensive, so maybe you had too many choices. I don't know. But for the next game, if everyone can just bring one jar of peanut butter, just that's it. Make it simple. I'm going to tell you what to bring. Bring a jar of peanut butter. You don't have to think about it. So from now until the next game, pick up a jar of peanut butter and leave it there for the next game. The other thing I wanted to also talk about was the Brahma Mama Fiesta medal. And so if you see it here, I don't know if I can get a good close up there. We actually had these designed like within 10 days, and they were able to have them quick for us because I wanted them for this first game. We're charging $10 and we're trying to raise $500 to give to the Children's Shelter of San Antonio. I've had tremendous love and passion for the fans who have bought one but donated $50. And you know who you are. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for that. Um, and just know that I'm really trying to bring the community and football together. And together, we are the best fans, not only because we cheer loud, but because we care. And so, again, I will be selling, or the Brahma Mamas will be selling these Fiesta medals, $10. Again, we're trying to raise $500 to donate to the children's shelter.
Reach out to
You,
RC on
yes,
Facebook to get a hold of
Yep.
those, and give her your $10 or more to go toward the San Antonio Children's Shelter and get your medal, get your Fiesta medal. We all love them when Fiesta time comes up, so get that
mhm,
first one already
that's
taken
right.
care of.
We can't
RC's
sell
got
them.
a
Can't sell them tailgating, but I do have permission from Gene from the Alamo Beer Company that we can sell them there. So watch parties, I will be there. The Brahma Mamas will be there, and we'll be selling metal.
RC has to step out for the rest of the episode, so we're going to say good night to her and let her go spend some time with some family. We love you so much, RC, and everything that you do
You.
around the Gunslingers and the Brahmas. And we're excited about everything. Your medals. We do need to get better on donating food. Watching that wagon pull around yesterday and seeing it. So now you got some diapers. Diapers
I
are
did get
always
some
good.
diapers. Diapers are good. And thank you
Diapers
for
are
everyone who
always good.
donated. Don't take it that I'm not grateful. Very grateful. But we can do better. We can do better.
Well, good night, RC. We will see you
Yeah.
later. We're going to say good night to RC, and we're going to transition immediately to somebody who's not near as pretty and not near as fun to be around, but he's still with us. It's Dirty
It's
from
the
the
troll.
X-Fan Show. What
No,
up, Dirty?
what's up, fellas? Listen, I'm not a troll. I love giving you guys trouble because, we're all part of this legion here. And listen, hey, all you cheapskates down there in San Antonio, buy RC's medal. I mean, come on, man. She's doing it for a good cause. But no, I have to say something. Phil, I'm disappointed in you for saying to fire Heinz Ward. I think
I
all the
didn't
idiots
say
who are
that.
wearing – be quiet,
Didn't
Phil.
say
I think
that.
all the idiots who are wearing Fire Heinz
My
Ward shirts
show.
should be kicked out of the stadium. You guys shouldn't allow it. Look, here's the thing with Heinz Ward. And you guys seriously are the second best fan base in the XFL, right? I mean, look, let's really look at it. You guys had an 8 o'clock start on a Sunday.
Yep.
I know how
Yep.
you people are down there in Texas when it comes to church and not missing church and stuff like that. You guys got to get to church. The morning service, afternoon service, evening service. You're right in the middle of church service, You can't be doing that kind of stuff to the church going people. What's wrong with Danny and Dwayne and Jerry? But look, get off this tip of firing Hines Ward. This is a first-time head coach. Okay, now if you want to talk about firing Terrell Buckley, that team's been terrible. Get rid of him, right? But I mean, look, guys, let's really think about this. You guys should have beat the Battlehawks in week 1.
Yep.
Okay,
Should have.
that was a foot. When I talk about a football mindset, Hines coached that game as a football, an NFL coach, right? And as you've seen, as you guys have progressed, your defense has gotten better. I mean, Jory Porter is doing a great job with your guys' defense. Okay.
Yes.
Defense is spectacular.
Yes, I mean it's one of the best defenses. Your guys' receivers. I mean your guys' 2 big receivers are both hurt.
Right.
I mean look what happened when they were in. Jack did a good job. Okay, Jack did a good job. But I mean let's really look at this as a whole, right? The offensive lines for all these teams besides DC are terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. You got to be quick at throwing the ball, right? I think everybody is I think you guys, the people down here in San Antonio, are jumping to conclusions about getting rid of Hines Ward. Well, one, you got to realize this: the dude signed a 3-year deal, so you ain't getting rid of him for 3 years at least, unless he quits. So, I mean, you're stuck with him for 3 years, right? I mean, I really think that the Brahmas, with something, they could turn this around and they could still be in the division and still be in the hunt. They're not far out of this. I mean, I don't know how much you guys have watched the 2020 XFL, but I mean, it's crazy. And here's why I'll say you guys have a better fan base than St. Louis. And I'm going to talk more about this on Tuesday and Wednesday. We were losing. And in the third quarter, half of the fans in the dome walked out of the dome. Then, with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, about a third of them walked out. There was only 5,000 people left in that dome. What does that say?
It's Dolores. She says, I'm with you, Dirty.
No,
Everyone
okay.
deserves the opportunity to grow. I'm optimistic about Hines Ward.
Of all of the rookie head coaches, Hines Ward's the one that I think is going to succeed the best.
Even
Out of
over
Woodson,
Anthony
yeah, because look what's happening in St. Louis. St. Louis's luck has ran out. You guys actually have fast guys. We don't have any burners. All we have are hands, and half the time, half those guys can't even catch a ball. At least you guys can catch balls. I mean, in St. Louis, they can't catch a ball unless it's Akeem Butler. That's it. It's the facts, right?
And he had a big couple of drops this week too. I was surprised to see Hakeem Butler dropping the ball.
I'm not. Let's really look at this. I mean, what are the Renegades? The Renegades they were lucky they won that game. Lucky they won that game, right? I mean, I don't know what was up with Jack, and it could have been that maybe they should have ran the ball more because with Bilal, I mean, you got to remember he was right there in the leading rushing.
Balaj.
And now, Balaj, they just quit handing him the ball. Do what your team is built to do. That team is built to run and to do the short screen passes. That's what Jack's good at. Now, I mean, look, we'll go back to the Jawan pass, right? The dude ain't got it here. Just like I don't have it when it comes to typing and spelling out words, he doesn't have it here to comprehend a playbook. And what we've seen with XFL playbooks is they are very complicated. Very complicated playbooks. Pass ain't your guys' answer. It's either Sunnit or Cone. That's your guys' answer. One of those two dudes for the rest of the year.
It's not Cone.
That's all we got, though. It's between those two guys.
So we found that out last night. It's not
Sinet's not healthy. I mean, what choice do you have?
And here's what I'll give you guys credit. I watched the game. I watched the game, and you guys were there till the very end of the game.
Yeah.
The mayor was there, and the mayor said, your guys' tailgate blew the St. Louis. Yeah, did we have more people? Of course we did, because we're the OG. We're the first, one of the original teams, right? But he
'Cause
goes,
what else
"You're
are you gonna do in St. Louis on a Saturday?
Well, you can be like most of the St. Louis fans, get drunk and throw up in the bathrooms and in the trash cans and pass out and get into fights in the concourse like they do all the time. But
Well,
that's
that's
just
not happening here.
right, exactly. But even the mayor said that your guys' tailgate was better than St. Louis's tailgate. And I mean, I agree. I mean, your guys' tailgate is great. The way you guys do it down there, it's a great time. And I'm looking forward to May 13th when I come down for the championship. So I don't understand. I get why you guys are all jumping on. I get why the teams are like, oh, well, get rid of Hines Ward, blah, blah, blah. I mean, look, you had the Commanders ripped away from you guys, right?
Right.
Same like with the Battlehawks here in St. Louis in 2020. We had it ripped away from us for COVID. I think of all the upsides of the three coaches who had real no head coaching experience at all, Hines Ward has the most upside. That's just my opinion as an outsider looking in. That's all I'm saying.
I am more of a fan of Hines Ward than I am Rod Woodson or Terrell Buckley. So, I'm fine with that. My issue is these three guys, I don't know that they ever should have gotten there had to be other head coaching candidates. And I'm not sure.
Okay, but again, Phil, let's go back to that, right? What was the one thing that Danny and The Rock and Jerry said they were going to do with the XFL? They said they were going to give people who needed chances to prove themselves as coaches and players, right?
Yep.
That's what they said. That's what they said they were going to do.
The coaches as it is the players, for development. Yep.
And that's what they did. Regardless if we like it, if we love it or we hate it, that's exactly what they've done. They've given people who might not have gotten opportunities in other places to get the opportunities to play and to coach. So for me, I'm like, okay, I get it. I mean, could I think they could have made some better choices in some of the head coaches? Sure, I did, right? But the one thing you got to respect about Hines, in all of your guys' losses, the dude has done it with grace. He said, it's my fault. I need to get our team more prepared. I need him to get him more disciplined. What other head coach is saying that? Buckley's throwing it off on his own players.
Right. And Rod Woodson throws it on the officials. Like Rod Woodson's thing is to blame the officials.
Yeah, and I mean, Anthony Begg just blamed. I mean, I watched the whole Battlehawks game and I rewatched and I told, I reached out to Leo and I'm like, dude, I was at the game live. Those penalties that everybody complained about in St. Louis, those weren't penalties. Besides the one they missed on Austin Prohl. Beck blamed it on the officials. I mean, come on. I mean, a lot of these guys are just right out of college, right? They're just coming fresh out of college, trying to make it. They're nervous. And it's hard for them. And I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the season goes. I still don't think you guys are out of it. That's just my opinion.
We're not. And on the note of the officials, that's not to say that Hines doesn't have reason or opportunity to blame it on the officiating, because there's been some questionable calls, especially the pass interference calls on the 98-yard drive that the Renegades did, and they scored their lone touchdown on. There were a couple of really questionable calls on that, and he didn't bring that up after the game, did he? Which I would have blamed him if he had, but he didn't even mention it.
But I mean, let's really look at these challenges that we've seen, where they've challenged these plays, right, on these pass interferences or stuff like that. Have we seen any of them get turned over?
They have turned a couple of things over, but man, if you're not 100% sure that there is a good angle to look at, don't waste your challenge, because Dean Blandino has made it clear to me in 5 weeks of this season, I'm going with the call on the field unless you absolutely, without the shadow of a doubt, prove to me that was wrong. In fact, I mean, in our game last night, there was a point where there was a challenge on the field. Leo was at the dive across the end zone for a touchdown.
Yes,
that
he was reviewing.
They said was not a touchdown. He reviewed it. It wasn't a challenge, but he reviewed it, and he said, "Call on the field stands." And I got to tell you, I was sitting in the stands watching the same video. It was a touchdown based on what I could see. Arlington scored on that play, not the next play.
Right,
But
yeah.
he said, look, if I can't 100% without a shadow of a doubt prove that they made the wrong call on the field, I'm giving them whatever the call on the field was.
Yeah, I mean, like, look,
Uh-oh.
Did we
We
lose
may have
Dirty?
lost Dirty.
I think we lost him.
Oh, that's too bad, Dirty. We lost
Yeah.
you.
Well, we'll see if he comes back, but well, here he's coming.
I
There he
hit the wrong button.
is.
No, I mean we're 5 weeks in, so that is what 20 games that we've played so far.
Yeah.
Yep.
And again, it's like Dean Blandino said.
That's really good math skills there, Dirty. I'm very
I know,
happy.
Arlington always makes fun of the dirty math. So I was actually surprised I even got it that fast. So that tells you I've been paying attention somewhere in life. But I mean, you really look at it, I would say less than 20% of all of these challenges, of all the challenges, only 20% of them have been overturned.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
And that's high. That's high. I'm just being gracious. And look,
Right.
here's what we've gotten. Over the last 5 weeks, out of 20 games, other than one game, and that was the Orlando game where they played Houston, we have had, like you'd said earlier, Phil and Leo, like you guys had said, we have had every single game come down to one possession. And Phil, one thing you're wrong about, 9 points is one possession in the XFL because you can go for a 3-pointer. So
I
9
didn't-
points is, you didn't say that? I thought you did. Okay, I
I
apologize.
didn't say that.
I apologize.
I know how to math. I know 9 points. Is
Yeah,
one possession.
I think he did say
I don't know how to
that
math.
Dirty, that he said it was one possession in Houston because you could get 9 points.
See, I apologize. See, look, I'm a
Yeah.
nice guy. I apologize. You
Oh,
know, I already got Phil's head blown up when I said he was 100% right on pass, being a mental case. I mean, but that's true. But I mean, think about it. In the NFL, how many blowouts did we watch this year?
I mean, it happens, fairly often. Yeah.
How many blowouts have we watched in 5 weeks in the XFL? One.
Yeah, there's only been, I was trying to think, I could think of one. Yeah.
That
Every
Orlando
game
and
has
Houston
been close.
Yeah.
So quit complaining, people. I've been dealing with this stuff since
Yeah.
2020.
Maybe
So quit
Brahmas or
complaining.
Orlando. Those are the two blowouts. They were both against Orlando.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Orlando's bad.
Yeah.
Orlando's just bad.
Yeah.
So, guys, keep up the good work. I'm going to go back and
You bet.
make some extra money for DoorDashing to help pay for my retirement so I can retire early. So,
Good luck.
you guys keep up the good work. And then tune in
Weird.
tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central on the X Fan Show because Dirty's going to be going off on a lot of people
Can't
tomorrow.
wait.
It should be fun.
We're gonna let you finally make that turn that your turn signal has been clicking the whole time.
That's my
but
hazard.
you've been-
That's my hazard. That's my hazard.
He's being responsible. He
I thought-
pulled over for
I
this.
thought you were just sitting at a stoplight with your turn signal on and just like, look, I gotta call in and deal with
You know,
this-
I would do that in
right now.
St. Louis, but I'd probably get shot.
Dirty's that guy.
Dirty. Dirty will be checking in with
Love
you
you,
tomorrow
boys.
morning, 11 o'clock.
Bye.
See you later. Adios.
See you, Dirty.
Yeah, so just to be clear, I have never said and will never say we need to fire Hines Ward after week 5 of the season. My point is, I don't think it was a good call on a league-wide level to bring in 3 guys that had 0 head coaching experience when there were other guys out there. You've got offensive coordinators in the XFL right now that were really good head coaches for the XFL in 2020. June Jones and I can't think of the guy's name in Arlington right now, their offensive coordinator, who was the Battlehawks coach. Both head coaches last time around, had some experience. I think that this was a mistake. I think that this particular experiment was a mistake. And they've made a few. Like their scheduling this year has been rough. It's a mistake. And it is
Chuck
what it
Long.
is. Jonathan Hayes.
John Hayes and Chuck Long are co-offensive coordinators.
Yeah, Jonathan Hayes is the guy I'm thinking of. He was the Battlehawks head coach in 2020, did an all right job, and now he is the offensive coordinator for Bob Stoops up there in Arlington.
Speaking of Bob Stoops, I just want to. Jorge Mata said a little while ago on the Facebook feed that Blandino hates everyone equally when we were talking about the reviews. And I was going to say the one exception I've seen of that was when Bob Stoops had no idea what it was he wanted to challenge, where he kept going back and forth with the referees and saying, well, is it illegal contact or holding or – and they're like, well, which one is it? Which one do you want to challenge? And he's like, he goes back and forth. And then Blandino's like, I know what he means. I'll just tell him I know what he means. I'm going to look for that. I was wondering when he did that, I was like, is he going to do that for everybody? Because the rules state that the coaches have to specifically say what it is they're challenging.
Sure.
And he didn't require that. Yeah, illegal touching. Thank you, Robert Rankin. Was the other terminology he was struggling back and forth with, that he didn't know what exactly he wanted to challenge. I just thought that was kind of funny.
So Brahmas fans, don't get too twisted. Even if we don't win another game all season, or even if we only win one more game this season, because we're going to beat Orlando.
Yeah.
We still have football. And the question that I posted at the very beginning of this particular episode was, is bad football, which we all kind of feel like we're watching right now in San Antonio, is bad football better than no football? The unequivocal answer to that is yes.
Yeah.
Because bad football can become good football, whereas no football will just be no football. So bad football is still better than no football. And if those are our two options, sure, all of us want to see good football. I get that. But if bad football is what we're seeing in San Antonio right now, I will still take that over no football. Speaking of good football, that's Brahmas. We're going to take our Brahmas stuff and we're going to put that on a shelf right now, because today the San Antonio Gunslingers of the National Arena League started their training camp. And
yes,
this weekend did not pass by without the San Antonio Gunslingers making a little bit of noise. They have confused some of those people that cover the NAL, because earlier in the offseason, they signed Jonathan Bain. Jonathan Bain was the quarterback for the Carolina Cobras last year. They ran through the regular season. Jonathan Bain played an incredible regular season. He is now quarterback for the Gunslingers. In the midst of that, this weekend, they signed Arvell Nelson. And you're like, okay, who's that? Arvell Nelson is a champion, Arena Bowl champion quarterback. He won the Arena Bowl with the Washington Valor, and he played for the Jacksonville Sharks last year. Yep. So now our quarterback room is two of the three starting quarterbacks
at the end of last season,
and a third one that has not wound up anywhere because Robert Kent Jr. By the way, the Gunslingers retain his rights. So three of the starting quarterbacks in the NAL last year, their rights are now retained by the San Antonio Gunslingers.
They've got a backup plan to the backup plan. Yeah.
It's almost like, hey, we're just going to sign all the quarterbacks here. And that way, what are you guys going to do for a quarterback? So there's a lot of consternation. Why would they sign Arvell Nelson if they already had Jonathan Bain? So I reached out to the Gunslingers. I reached out to Coach Fred Shaw. And Coach Fred Shaw,
he didn't answer you.
San Antonio Brahmas, actually said, hey, give me a call. We'll talk about it.
He did answer you.
He did.
Yes.
So what we're looking at is Arvell Nelson is in camp right now, and he will be your starting quarterback at the beginning of the season, it looks like. Jonathan Bain, for whatever reason, has some work commitments that are keeping him away from camp and maybe even away from the very start of the season. So Arvell Nelson will be your starting quarterback. That's not that big a drop-off. That's a drop-off because Jonathan Bain, to me, was one of the two best quarterbacks in the league last year. But
what-
Arvell Nelson played really well when he played for
Mhm.
Jacksonville. Go ahead.
What was the delay for Bain again?
A work commitment.
Work commitment.
Because
Okay.
all these guys have regular jobs.
Yeah.
This is not
That
this is professional football. They get paid for it, but they have to have a full-time real job to actually support their family. They can't do
That's-
it on
yeah,
NAL money.
right. That's the same situation they were in with Robert Kent Jr. last season
Mhm.
and this season if he decides to continue playing.
So the Gunslingers are going into the season with incredible quarterback options. But wait, there's more, as you hear on TV all the time, because the San Antonio Gunslingers were one of the best teams defensively last year in the NAL. A large majority of that defense is returning, including Cody Brooks, who will be back on the field for the San Antonio Gunslingers after a short hiatus as he tried to make his way into the XFL. Cody Brooks will be back. Also, Justin Alexander.
Yep.
Justin Alexander is one of the best pass rushers I've ever seen play. So good, in fact, that the San Antonio Brahmas. Hey, does anybody think the San Antonio Brahmas have a pretty good defense? Are they playing pretty well on defense? Do they kind of know what they were doing when they selected their guys for their defense? Well, one of the guys they selected, in fact, the first guy they selected for that defense was Justin Alexander. He was a San Antonio Gunslinger. He got selected by the Brahmas for whatever reason. I actually think it was some injury issues, but for whatever reason, he wound up on the reserve list and was unable to get into the season with the Brahmas. He is back with the San Antonio Gunslingers, one of the best pass rushers I've ever seen. And pass rush is so important in the arena game, because if you can disrupt a quarterback, we know that in the 11-man game, in the full-size game. I don't know the best way to refer to that. But if you can disrupt a quarterback, you can do a lot of great things with your defense. And Justin Alexander can disrupt a quarterback. He's one of those guys.
Big time disruptor. He was involved in every, just about every negative play we had on defense last year for the Gunslingers, of putting pressure on the opposing quarterbacks. And in a sport that is really, really angled towards the offense, when you can disrupt that the way he does, that's a huge advantage, a big piece. So for him to be returning to the Gunslingers is absolutely huge.
But wait, there's more.
Wow.
More. Leo, you and I were have been very involved with the San Antonio Gunslingers since the beginning of their time as a team. They were in the AAL their first season last year. They transitioned to the much bigger, much better NAL. Who is, in your estimation, the most dangerous player for the San Antonio Gunslingers in their history on the field? Who's the guy, if the ball gets into his hands, it could be 6 at any time?
I would have to take a guess. There's no guess. It's absolutely number 5, Kali Rashad.
It's number 5, Kali Rashad.
Yes.
Kali Rashad. And Luis also echoes that. Number 5, Kali Rashad. Kali Rashad is a wide receiver and defensive back for the Gunslingers. By the way, if you're hanging out with us because we've been talking Brahmas and you're like, hey, I want to stick around and hear about the Gunslingers, you need to know something about the NAL and the style of football they play. It is Iron Man football, where a majority of the guys play both directions. So if you're on the field as a wide receiver, when the defense comes out, it's one guy that changes out. The quarterback comes off, one defensive specialist comes on, and that's your defense. You've got to be able to play both ways. Kali Rashad is a wide receiver and defensive back for the San Antonio Gunslingers and has been since their inception. He is also the most dangerous kick returner I've ever seen in professional football, period.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Teams stopped kicking it to him. Just the only time I've ever seen that is Devin Hester in the NFL, where the other team absolutely refused to kick the ball to him.
Last year, teams would kick the ball out of bounds, giving the ball to the San Antonio Gunslingers on the 20-yard line, which is nearly midfield, as opposed to kicking it to Kali Rashad because they were that afraid of what number 5 was going to do to them. Well, there have been some rule changes in the NAL this year. One thing that is going to change is nets are going up all around the end zone end of both sides of the field, and the ball is playable off the nets. So in the NAL, you kick your kickoff. If it goes through the uprights, you get 2 points. That's called a deuce. It's a lot of fun. It's really kind of an interesting way to score some points. If it hits the net now and falls down, it will fall down into the field of play and be returnable. And
you can play it off the net. Cool.
You can play it off the net. And if you kick the ball out of bounds, if you kick the ball outside of the net, the receiving team gets the ball on the 10-yard line and an extra point. They get a point added to the scoreboard
and the ball.
And they get the ball.
People may still choose to kick it away from Kali Rashad.
Oh, I'm going to tell you right now, there will be teams that still say we're going to kick it out of bounds. We're going to kick it away from Kali Rashad.
We're going to give you the point. Mm-hmm.
What that means is much more. Teams can no longer avoid Kali Rashad on the return. They either have to give us a point or they have to kick it to him and give him an opportunity to be the dangerous guy that he is.
That's huge. I think at the beginning of the season, we'll see a lot of people kicking it to him and just saying, okay, well, we're just going to have to try and stop him. And when they're not able to, that's going to stop, just like what we saw last season, except they didn't have any consequences with stopping to kick it to him. But I believe they will still stop kicking it to him and just take the 1 point deficit.
Mm-hmm.
He's that good.
He is
that explosive.
He's that good. The next professional football game that happens in San Antonio is not the XFL Brahmas. The next professional football game that happens in San Antonio happens the day before the Brahmas play the Roughnecks on Easter Sunday in the Alamo Dome. It will be at Freeman Coliseum. It is April 8th. It is 2:00 kickoff ? No, I think it's a 6:00 kickoff, but I'm fixing to check it and make sure I'm right on that. But that is the next professional football game that happens in San Antonio, and I couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, I mean,
tell me if you get there first.
We're getting to the point where we're gonna be able to enjoy 2 professional football teams simultaneously for a couple of weeks in San Antonio, and that's just going to be a lot of fun. And knowing what we know about the Gunslingers, 6 p.m. I remember it's an evening game because I remember you were kind of on the fence of deciding whether you were going to be able to make it or not because of your
still am I would
obligations
love to be there,
on Easter Sunday. If it were a 2 p.m. Saturday game, I think you'd have a lot easier time of making that happen.
Yeah, I'd make that work. But it's 6 p.m. at the Freeman Coliseum. Tickets are available right now. Season tickets are available for the San Antonio Gunslingers. If you've never been to an arena league football game, an indoor football game, you owe it to yourself to go find one that fits in your schedule this season, earlier in the season rather than later, and go watch a professional indoor football game. They are a blast.
Just make it to 1. That's all I'll ask. Go to 1 because I'm pretty sure once you go to that 1 and experience it, you're going to be like, I want to come back. When's the next game?
For sure.
You know, I understand if people aren't willing to lay down cash right now for a season ticket commitment, if you're not familiar with the sport or you just don't know a whole lot about it. Just go to one of the first games so you can see what it's like and you don't miss out on too much. Don't just do trust me, do this favor for yourself. Commit for one game early in the season. There's six home games. So so you don't want to wait too long, but go to one of the first ones, and I promise you, more than likely, 99.999%, you're going to want to come back because they are that much fun.
They are. They are a lot of fun. That first game, Carolina Cobras, here on Saturday, April 8th, 6 p.m. If you miss that, if you're like, it's Easter weekend, we're going to be out of town, whatever the case may be, you need to know that the Jacksonville Sharks come to Freeman Coliseum to play the San Antonio Gunslingers, but that is not until Sunday, May 28th. That is how long it will be from home game to home game. They have backloaded the Gunslinger schedule. We think that was to avoid XFL issues, which you gotta applaud a league that says, hey, we know our place and we're excited about the XFL coming to San Antonio, and we don't want to step on toes and make fans choose. So we're going to backload the schedule in San Antonio. But if you don't make it out to that Saturday game, that April 8th game, you have to wait all the way till the end of May. Now they're going to be playing. They play 4 games between those 2 games. They're just all on the road. They're in Jacksonville, they're in Albany, they're in Fayetteville, they're in West Texas.
And there will be watch parties for those. And the Gunslingers crew ownership, they put together quite a watch party. So that's another opportunity to go and have some fun and watch the game and maybe not commit so much money to a ticket. You're going to commit to food and drink at wherever the venue is that the watch party's at. But that might be a good way to introduce yourself to the sport if you're not ready to buy tickets. But tickets are affordable, so really it shouldn't be an issue.
Robert Rankin, Gunslingers games are fun. My kids love it. It is a really kid-friendly atmosphere. And then Dolores, they're always very interactive with the fan base. They are. If you like the fact that the Brahmas, even after a loss like yesterday, will come over to the wall and talk to some fans and spend some time on the field, if you like that kind of interaction, it gets it's about 4 times that in the National Arena League. We have players, they invite folks down on the field at the end of the game. Walk around, everyone. Talk to players, get autographs, the whole thing.
Yeah. If you're there and you're a fan, you're allowed on the field after the game. And the coaches and players are there. They don't leave. They don't walk away. They stay there to sign autographs and shake hands and talk to everybody. They usually have performers. It's a lot of fun. Brian Wenslow asking, is it similar to the league that John Elway was with? He's talking about the Colorado Crush. Elway didn't play with them, I don't believe. I think he was just in ownership. But yeah, same type of game. The field is only 50 yards. It's basically a quarter of a regulation outdoor football field. Very explosive game, high scoring, fast paced. Typical scores are 50s and 60s. Although the guns, for both teams. The Gunslingers have been known to have a very stout defense, though, and have held some teams to lower than that on several occasions. So it's not necessarily like, oh, there's no defense for those that love defense. Actually, it can be kind of more exciting in the sense that when you get that one stop, it's huge,
right?
Compared to in your typical outdoor football where you get a stop and it's no big deal. It's just like that doesn't have a huge bearing on the game. Every stop is really key in these games. So in that sense, the defense is that much more magnified.
Renee Peters, the Brahma babe herself, says arena football is very interactive. Cheered 2 years in it. Well, come cheer on the San Antonio Gunslingers of the National Arena League as they get started. That's the next professional football game in San Antonio. San Antonio Gunslingers on April 8th, and then you can go home, rest that night, get up early, go worship because it's Easter. and you need to do that. And then afterwards, head out to the Alamo Dome and enjoy your San Antonio Brahmas as they take on the Houston Roughnecks. It's a whole weekend of football.
That's going to be such a
Football.
great weekend as a San Antonio sports fan, football fan, to be able to go see the Gunslingers on Saturday and the Brahmas on Sunday. Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. I can't wait till that weekend. I might have to take PTO that Monday, the day after, just to recover.
Well, see, I get PTO. Traditionally, the Monday after Easter, churches do not open. They church offices remain closed because you've been busy the week before. Holy Week's a big deal. And so I will be off, but I don't know if I can make it up for the Roughnecks game. I really want to, but that's a tight window to get up there by 2:00 for the Roughnecks game. If not, I'll be enjoying it here on the coast. 3-hour drive away is what it is. But the Gunslingers,
buy yourself a plane.
Yeah, for sure. If Dwayne and Danny will let me borrow their plane, I can be there. I think I could make it.
Call the Brahmas and ask them to
sure
to send that note up for you.
They've been so helpful so far. I'm sure they will be ready. The Gunslingers is a fun experience. If you have not experienced it, if you love professional football, and you do, because you wouldn't be enjoying this podcast right now if you didn't love professional football or in and around San Antonio, you owe it to yourselves to find out what's going on with the San Antonio Gunslingers. It's gonna be great. I will tell you that there are players and coaches on the team that have championship expectations this year for the San Antonio Gunslingers. We walked into this year with the Brahmas not knowing what we were getting. It's a new thing, and so we're really not sure. We never are. We talked our trash, but it is what it is. But I can tell you that they know what they're getting into in San Antonio and in the NAL, and they are not shy about it. They have championship expectations as they go into this season.
Yeah, they do. From the top down, ownership down, that's the goal. And they've done everything they can to ensure that happens this year. So it's championship or bust for them, and that's going to be fun to watch because they're serious.
Lily says they won't even give you a media credential. What makes you think they'll loan you their plane? Thanks. True. Too true. Yeah, Brian Winslow saying that he used to watch arena football years ago in San Diego. Renee reminds him that the Gunslingers play the Jacksonville Sharks. He is in that Florida area. There's actually two different games, two different teams there in the Florida area for the National Arena League. The Jacksonville Sharks and the Orlando Predators are both in the National Arena League, and the Gunslingers will play both of those teams.
Yeah, they play Jacksonville the second week in Jacksonville, Saturday,
in Jacksonville.
15th.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're still there, Brian, still in Florida, I know it's not too long from the time you guys are actually going to move to San Antonio, but if you're still there April 15th, you might want to look into that.
So support the Gunslingers. He says Orlando's actually closer to him than Jacksonville. Okay, then let's give you the Orlando game. I don't know if you'll still be there in July, but Saturday, July 1st is when the Gunslingers will be in Orlando to play the Orlando Predators. You're a San Antonio football fan now. You can't back out of it. So, either way, either you watch them here in San Antonio or you take a chance on watching them there in Florida. Hey, look, the Brahmas game is what it is. The Brahmas offense is what it is. But the nice thing about offense is you could hit that spark anytime and touch off something that is just an explosion of points. We've seen it once. It was against Orlando. I know Orlando is Orlando's not a good team. I get that. But still, they put together the offense. They put together the plays to score 30 points at Orlando. So they can do it. It's possible.
All I got to say is my abuelita, my grandma, she's no longer with us. Rest in peace. She's been gone for a while now. But for all the primos out there, if your abuelita is still here with us, if you could get your abuelita to get some Vicks or whatever, and track down Reed Sinet and do a little sana
Yes.
colita rana on his foot, when we'll get him ready for next week. I think that's our best chance right there. So calling all the primos, it's we're calling the abuelitas. Are you guys ready? We need to get an abuelita over there stat.
Brian Winslow a few minutes ago said, interesting XFL news. Orlando has changed their defensive line coach. Ty Warren's no longer with the team. He also says Houston's kick returner Kirkland is out for the season with a chest injury. That's kind of a bummer. I don't like to see anybody out for the season because of an injury. That stinks. But there are a couple of notes. Not surprising that Orlando is still having organizational issues. That's not news. We knew that from the very start of the season, that they don't have anything figured out when it comes to all of that. Renee checking in on the game. I rewatched the game today. Is it me, or does it seem like some of these coaches, including Coach Ward, do not really understand the rules? It seems like every game they're questioning why something is occurring. Stoops did it as well.
Yeah, first year, I know exactly one of the examples that Renee's talking about, in the situation where they subbed in and the referee stopped in and didn't let them snap the ball so that Arlington could match up, and they got an opportunity to sub in. So they stopped the play basically, and then they allowed the play to continue. And San Antonio wasn't aware that when that happens, you only get 10 seconds. It doesn't reset, the play clock doesn't reset to the full, I think, was it 24 seconds?
25,
it only goes to 10. And so
or
we
35, I'm sorry.
So it resulted in a delay of game penalty against San Antonio because they were not aware. Coach Ward wasn't aware, had to have that explained to him.
So,
and that was another thing. Stoops wasn't aware when the same thing happened on his side, but the referees warned him about it. So a little bit of advantage there.
I have actually seen this happen in several XFL football games this season, and I do not understand how you can call delay of game on a team when your field judge, or whoever it is that's in the back judge, I guess, is standing between the center and the quarterback, not allowing them to snap the ball.
Yeah.
And then they run out of the way, and that quarterback sets up and goes to snap the ball, and it's too late. You made it too late. You stood in their way. How are you going to penalize me when you stopped? And it's happened to every team, not just us, not just Bob Stoops. I've seen it all year long. It's happened 2 or 3 times in almost every game I've watched. I understand that, hey, if you're going to substitute as the offense, you have to give the defense the ability to substitute. And so if they're doing a late substitution, that would be the only reason I can imagine that the official stops you from snapping the ball. And if that's the case, maybe you just got to have your substitution packages ready quicker. But it does seem very odd that, like, the official says, no, you can't snap the ball. Okay, now you can snap the ball, but it's too late.
Oh, too late. Delay of game. Yeah, I think the XFL has some things to clean up. They have a rule book. They have rules that they set in place. And this is, season 1 of this iteration of it, different rules. And now that they see how things are working or not working, I'm sure there's going to be adjustments. Yeah,
for sure. Well, don't panic. Heck, even if they lose the next 2 games, don't panic. We've got football. We've got football in San Antonio, and we need to be fans of football.
Support it
in San Antonio. That is the San Antonio Brahmas. That's the San Antonio Gunslingers. Get out and show the football community. Did you hear Dirty? Did everybody hear Dirty when he was on and say, hey, no doubt about it, you guys are the second best fan base?
And then later on, he said we were the best fan base. He corrected himself. But when he first came on, that's what he said. You're right.
Second best fan base. there's a lot of folks around the XFL right now, around XFL chat rooms, around Reddit, wherever you go, that are all saying, "Oh, I thought San Antonio was a better football town. I can't believe they only got 13,000 out for this game on Sunday night. I really thought they were into this." San Antonio, that's on you.
Yep.
Like you can throw all the excuses you want to at me. It's a late night game. It's on a Sunday. There was a music festival. They're only 1-3. You cannot excuse the fact that if it's important, you make time for it. And you've said that football is important to you. Now you got to back it up.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand some of these, reasonings. If you can't get a babysitter and you have this, we're not calling you out because you absolutely couldn't be at the game, but you wanted to be. But there was a difference of 10,000 fans from the first game to this game. And I guarantee you, not all of those 10,000 was people that just absolutely couldn't be there because
Right.
something out of their control. I'm not buying that.
No.
Like that's what we're calling out is the casual fan that just didn't show up because they use that as an excuse, but it just, if they really could have made it happen, they wanted to make it happen, they could have.
Right.
It's just that, it's not worth it because they're 1-3 and they suck or this and that. I'm quoting them. It's okay to be, don't get me wrong either. It's okay to be critical of the team as long as you still support the team. You can sit here and we complain about the team. We come away from these losses just as disappointed as anybody else, but
Absolutely.
we're not anywhere near ready to say they're not worth it. They're not worth my dollars for a ticket. They're not worth my support. I'll just watch them on TV because they're not that good. So they're not worth me attending a game. That's just hogwash.
I drove 3 hours. I spent 4 hours at tailgate. I paid my money. I watched the game. I got mad. I went back and stayed in Leo's guest room for the night. I got back in the car and drove 3 hours home yesterday. If you live in San Antonio and you tell me you're a football fan and you couldn't find a way to make it to the game yesterday because you just didn't, it's too late or it's too much or it's too they're not very good. Like, you're not as big a fan as I am, I guess, because I put my money and my time into getting to that game, and you could have too. If you were living in San Antonio, you had a lot easier time than I did being a part of that experience last night. And if you let it pass by, that's on you.
Yeah,
there's no excuse for it.
And as much as we're pointing the fingers, we're also going to give credit to the 13,000 that were there. They showed up. They had a great time. The tailgate was smaller, but it was just as good. The people there had just as much fun. The mayor of the XFL having come and seen that, and just with the 13,000 that were there, Dirty mentioned his opinions on what he saw there with the tailgating. The football fans in San Antonio are great. They're a great fan base. But there's a large section of that's just so fickle and not willing to commit for whatever reason. And those are the ones that we need to just kind of look at you guys. And as Renee, I think it was that commented just a little while ago, if you don't support it, they will be gone. And those are the ones, you people are the ones that can make the difference in that of us having a professional football team here, like the Brahmas and like the Gunslingers, and not having them.
Michael Wayne Davis, who is a huge Gunslingers fan, not an excuse, but the times and dates and city functions are interrupting our home games. Yeah, but that's going to be the case. Like, we're a big enough city that there's always going to be something going on. Times and dates aren't great, but we don't control the schedule. I used to tell people all the time, if it's important enough to you, you will make time for it. If football is important enough to San Antonio has to show that by making time for it. And I know you know that, Michael. Michael Wayne Davis is a guy who makes time for professional
yeah.
football on every level. He was there for Commander stuff. He's been there. I believe he was there for Commander stuff, but I know he's been there for Gunslingers since the beginning. And I know he was. In fact, I ran into him in the concourse last night at the Alamo Dome wearing his Gunslinger jersey. So I know Michael Wayne Davis understands what I'm talking about. You know, we all love professional football, and there's great opportunities coming up in the next month, not only for Brahmas football, but also for Gunslingers football. And when it comes to football, when it comes to professional football, anywhere and everywhere across this country, whether it's up in Seattle or down in Orlando or in the arena in Orlando or in Fayetteville or all the way up in Albany, when it comes to professional football, the 210 has got something to say. Bang, bang.